Okay, welcome everyone. This is great to see folks early this morning. Welcome to the third session of the second annual Joining Our Voices Symposium on Envisioning the Future of Serious Illness Care. I am Heather Altman. I am the Executive Director of the North Carolina Serious Illness Coalition, and we are absolutely thrilled that you are joining us for the third of 5 sessions, one each day, of what we hope will be engaging and thought-provoking experiences. And we know from our first 2 days that is the case. Please take a moment. I know folks are still joining us. Please take a moment to put your name and your organization, if you're coming from one, in the chat line. You can use chat throughout the session if you have questions. We do ask that you keep your microphones muted, and for the best viewing, choose the speaker view option on Zoom. If this is your first time joining a coalition event, the North Carolina Serious Illness Coalition is a statewide partnership to advance the quality of life and quality of care for individuals and families touched by serious illness. Through collective action, we work together through our active work groups to address clinical practice and quality and advanced care planning and caregiver and patient engagement through a variety of communications, advocacy, and education efforts. You are all welcome to join the coalition. And to learn more about the coalition, you can go to our website at www.ncsicoalition.org. It's on my screen behind, and I'm going to put that up in the chat line in just a few moments. And if you want, you can go ahead and send me your email or put it on the chat line, and we'll go ahead and add you to the coalition's listserv. There's no charge to join. We love bringing into the discussion and our activities of advancing serious illness care and support. So many thanks to the coalition members for developing this symposium. Different work groups chose different days to set up each of the sessions and panels. And so our gratitude goes out to members of the Advanced Care Planning Work Group who put together this session. And with that, I've tried to talk slow enough to let you all come in and join. And now we can really get started. And I'm excited to turn it over to Adam Kuntz to lead us in this session. Good morning, and thank you, Adam.
Great. Thank you, Heather. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see a lot of familiar names in the chat as you're all kind of signing in this morning. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Adam Kuntz. I'm the Senior Director of Clinical Ethics, Advanced Care Planning, and Spiritual Care at Novant Health. And I have the privilege of being the moderator for this morning's session as we explore the use of video in advanced care planning. We're really excited about what we've put together over the next very tight hour. We're hoping to have time for questions and answers at the end. So as indicated, please use the chat for that. As we get started, first, let's get to know our wonderful panel that we've assembled for this morning. Karen, would you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Karen Monaco, and my background is in psychology and public health. My career was with the American Lung Association. I was the director of tobacco control programs in the New York National Office. And I happily took my job with me and moved to Chapel Hill about 35 years ago. I thought it would be a real challenge to continue my work on tobacco in the heart of tobacco country. And I have been at a CCRC, Carolina Meadows is the name, for the past 7 years. My new husband, who some of you saw just walk in to show his support, George and I started a small group called Compassion and Choices after the national organization that's committed to end-of-life choices. We have interested residents who are in our group, and basically they discuss their concerns and their experiences in dealing with end-of-life issues in an atmosphere of trust. And there's a lot of serious discussions. There's also a lot of humorous discussions. You can imagine that Carolina Meadows had to make a difficult decision to get involved in this. It doesn't look that great to be an organization that focuses on getting people to the end of life. So if they went ahead with it, we have an organization here called Positive Endings that works with we have almost 800 residents here, and they do a lot of work with helping people to become more aware of end-of-life issues. We do lectures, we do movies, we do workshops, all sorts of things about end of life. So kudos to Carolina Meadows for being willing to be so open. And George and I, because of our work here, we are now sort of lovingly referred to as the death couple.
Well, thank you, Karen. And you'll all get a chance to know a little more about Karen here in just a few minutes. Keith, will you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning. I'm Keith Starwalt. I'm the program director for Faith Health Community Medicine here at Atrium Health, Wake Forest Baptist, part of the Advocate Health System. My background is both as a physician assistant and as a hospital chaplain, involved in pastoral care here at in the Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist domain, but also spent a lot of time in medical education, focusing on ethics and conversations around serious illness and end of life.
Thank you, Keith. And Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Coughlin. I am a professor of law at Wake Forest University School of Law, and I'm also involved in the Center for Bioethics, Health, and Society, where I'm a core faculty member. I also have about 10 years of practical experience representing healthcare providers, including long-term care facilities. And personally, I've been a caregiver, a primary caregiver for someone with a serious illness. So I have dealt with a lot of the issues we'll be talking about today. So, and thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here this morning.
Well, thank you to all three of you for giving your time for both your professional and personal connections to this topic today. And I've appreciated our conversations leading up to this, and know everyone watching and listening will benefit from what you all have to offer. So thank you again. As we as a group, we're planning this and getting prepared to talk about the use of video, certainly recognize there's probably value to you seeing what it might look like. And so to get us started into our session today, we're extremely thankful to Karen for being vulnerable and willing to share a very personal video with you of what a video advanced directive or video advanced care planning supplement might look like. And so we're going to start by sharing that with all of you.
Hello, my name is Karen Monaco, in case you didn't know, and I am 80 years old, and the date of this recording is August the 7th, 2023. So I'm aware that you have all my advanced directives that I slaved over for years and years, but this video is really meant to tell you what I most care about at the end of my life. I want to make sure that everyone in my life now knows what I want and what I don't want at the end, and why. But first of all, thank you so much for all the warm, loving care that I know you will be giving me. Hint, hint. I would really prefer to be cared for with kindness and cheerfulness, not sadness. If possible, I would always want to know the truth about my condition, my treatment options, and chances of success. You know what a control freak I am. I need to know everything. I know that you will do your best to make my final days as pain-free as possible, even if it means that I will be drowsy or sleep more than I would otherwise. Most of all, I trust that you will do the right thing, because I have told you so many times just what I want. Enough already. That's what my son Matt says, but after all, he was born in New York. The key message that I want to get across is please do not prolong my life any longer than necessary. You will know when I am ready to say goodbye. So no guilt. My life has been so blessed with many wonderful friends and family. So George did not like my favorite expression that I used to use, when in doubt, snuff me out, but take it in the best way, that I just don't want to linger. My dementia addendum document, which is attached to my healthcare power of attorney, says that it's all about my desire to live for as long as I am able to relate to my family and friends and to be mentally alert and competent enough to remain independent and to continue an active role in life. The term chosen endpoint is used to help you figure out when it is time to end all treatment. You will know. And I want to use any legal method available, such as voluntary stopping, eating, and drinking, to end my life at this chosen end point. Also, be sure to check my MOST form, which has been filled out annually with my doctor and addresses the use of DNR, the Do Not Resuscitate, or CPR, and other medical interventions, which I want and, more importantly, do not want. Well, I may have disabilities. I already have quite a few at 80. I want to feel good about actively living my life, not just marking time until I die. I would definitely prefer to die in a short time rather than lingering. Who wouldn't? If dementia is present and I am no longer able to communicate rationally with loved ones or caregivers, and or I am physically dependent on others for all aspects of bodily care, I do not want to continue living. I want to die peacefully, as quickly as legally possible. I do not want to spend unnecessary money for my care, nor do I want to cause my family and caregivers the stress of caring for me when I am ready to die. And remember that pain is the real deal breaker. I don't want to be kept living if there is suffering for me or for my loved ones. I want you all to know that I do not fear death itself. For everything there is a season, a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. Now that I think about it, I think I've probably done all that. So enjoy a glass of wine, turn on an opera like Cavalleria Rusticana or La Traviata, or maybe a Broadway show like Mame. My mom loved that one especially. Open a new window, open a new door. These are her pictures behind me. This was a sampler that she did in 1957, which is of the Williamsburg establishment in Virginia, with Pennsylvania touches around it. I was actually born in Lancaster, PA, so I had some good exposure to the Pennsylvania Dutch way. Or Carousel, another great musical. Remember, You Will Never Walk Alone? That's assuming, of course, that people even remember Broadway shows. So, I've had a great run.
and I want to exit with good feelings. Please know how much I have loved you. Please forgive me for times that I may have hurt you, and I forgive you for any such hurts. I truly believe that we all do the best that we can with what we know at the time. Now don't get me started on all my words of wisdom for you. I'll sign off now. Bye-bye.
Well, first of all, Karen, just again, thank you so much for your willingness to share that with all of us. That's deeply personal, and for you to share it with all of us for learning and advancing things forward is extremely impactful and appreciated. I'm curious, Karen, what it was like making that video and how perhaps that compared to other projects or advanced care planning you had done previously.
Yeah. Well, I'd say first, as I told you in my bio, that I have done a lot of work here with positive endings. I'd say this video project has probably been the most difficult for me. First of all, we have our share of residents who do not really think that they're going to die. So it's very hard to get them to start thinking about making any end-of-life plans like a video. Secondly, I guess I'd say it's very personal because everyone in the workshop team reveals some of their own final wishes to help residents convince themselves that they can do it. And third, the common problem is perhaps a lack of comfort with tech issues, or that it may be too emotionally taxing for elder residents. So we try to build their confidence in what they do during the workshop and assist them in making the video. And I guess what I do is I let them listen to my video, as we did just now, and to show how you can be lighthearted, you can be informal. Remember, these are my family members, my friends that I'm talking to in this video. So I guess it's just a way of be yourself, be authentic, and know also that this video can have a huge impact on your health agent, the surrogate who's going to have to present this information and maybe even fight for it when your end is near.
Thank you, Karen. I hope, if you don't already, I hope you will open the chat and take a minute to see all of the kind words of appreciation and praise coming in from those joining us today. Keith, I'm curious what your initial reaction to seeing that video is.
So yeah, this being the second time I've seen this video, I'm moved once again. I think I envision good advanced care planning as being acts of love and justice. And I think the justice aspect that strikes me is that you're stating very firmly, as much as you can, the things that are important to you as you approach the end of life. The documents are great that we do, but there are things that you said about dementia that I think are just invaluable and would be so difficult to articulate on a piece of paper. But what really struck me this morning is the love aspect of what you said. You've given your family a gift to reassure them, right, that they're following your wishes. You also, by the way, gave us all a great sense of who you are, and makes me want to know you more. In that love, your statements about forgiveness, that bidirectional forgiveness, really strike me, because family members I talk to way after these decisions have been made, way after the end of life have occurred, still these things bubble up, and you've made some really strong statements there that I appreciate in the forgiveness. And one other thing that struck me quickly that I didn't anticipate is the medical people who take care of patients really strive to take care of the patient in the way that they want to be taken care of. And I wonder what it would be like for medical teams who are dealing, in here, they're all great thinkers, but they also have some some flip-flops, heart-wise. What would it be like for them to know, to see this video and know we are taking care of her? This is what she really wants. And to know that they're honoring you through seeing this video. And so I'll leave that question.
Thank you, Keith. And Chris, as people are sharing their initial reactions to the video and what resonated, I'm curious what resonated most with you in seeing the video.
Well, I could go on for the rest of the hour what resonated with me, but just to pick up on what Keith said, what resonated with me most today was how you, Karen, actually fulfilled all of the legal concerns that we have while doing it in a very humanistic way and providing a gift for your family and for your caregivers to know how to navigate these kind of uncharted waters with you. And we'll pick up on those when I speak about the legal kind of guardrails that we have, but it was just, you set the bar high. That was awesome. Like Keith said, I think that a lot of times when we have intractable legal problems is because people are trying to make up for things that happened when, in the past, right? And so they want people to, to stay alive, to show their love. The fact that you gave that bilateral forgiveness was just so key.
Yeah, I agree. And based on what you and Keith both shared and seeing it in the chat, certainly know from my own experiences, the care team does want to take care of patients the way they want to be taken care of. And we increasingly find care teams under considerable time crunches and considerations. And so I think any ways that we can help make that a more efficient process to give them understanding of what you want is a good thing. And I think this video certainly accomplishes that. Keith, you mentioned it, getting to know who the person is, hearing some of their story, and very clearly hearing an expression of wishes that can help others in the room really understand what Karen or others might want. Keith, you and I have been collaborating in the advanced care planning world for many years now. I'm curious, what common challenges in the advanced care planning space do you see something like a video supplement or video advanced directive overcoming? And just what other thoughts do you have about the usefulness of this?
Well, certainly, as my standard joke is, by the way, that the ethics team is never called when people agree. When the medical team wants to do X and the family says yes, that's not when we hear about it. But the kind of things that bubble up are, well, when she signed that paper, she didn't really know what she was signing. Yeah, Mom had already seen, there was a little bit of dementia, we think, going on here. So we don't think that she knew what she was signing. This, by the way, obviously ports over to portable medical orders, like most orders, and portable DNRs as well. So we run into that. Adam, as you mentioned, a lot of times the emotional, I'm going to use the term baggage that we carry, unresolved issues that we have with our family members bubble up in unhelpful ways. One term that I learned many, many years ago was that of seagull syndrome when it comes to end of life. And in short, I'll do the funny and then we'll get serious. Seagull syndrome is where a relative, usually the one who lives the farthest away or who's the most disenfranchised, swoops in like a seagull and then poops on our plans. What typically happens is that someone will show up trying to make up for a fractured relationship in a non-helpful way. I'm going to keep dad alive as long as possible. So there's a rescue kind of mentality. This kind of video really emphasizes, what's important to mom or dad, what's important to my spouse. And it is a reassurance that I'm following who they are, and they did know what they were talking about when they made this video. So this, even if they signed their advanced care planning documents or their advanced directives 10 years ago, a video that's done a relatively short period of time reinforces this is who mom is, and this is how mom wanted to end her life. And so I appreciate that very much. But again, it's the lack of understanding. We'll hear that from family members a lot. Yeah, he said that he wanted his daughter as his healthcare agent, but that's not really what he wanted, because he wanted me, because I'm I haven't talked to him in 5 years, but I'm the one who needs to make the decision. So I think it helps in a practical sense for the medical team to be able to see and again, get that lens of what the patient wanted. But also when you sit down with a family, it's really hard to look at that video and say, well, Karen really didn't, she said that, but she really, she didn't want that.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. In these conversations, often talk about the reality that the heart can override the head.
Oh, yeah.
In these situations, and an advanced directive in many ways is a head task or activity, and I think this video really helps convert it to a heart expression and message. And so I think to your point, can help the clinical team and help families kind of really resonate with, okay, wait, we know exactly what she asked of us in this moment.
And what Karen's done is going to help her family years to come, not just now, but years to come.
Chris, I'm going to pivot to you now. We know the use of video in advanced care planning is a relatively new concept. And so I'm curious if you can talk to us a little bit about what guardrails exist and what we know about the use of video in advanced care planning.
That would be great. Can you pull up the PowerPoint? So
I will.
Thank you. Okay, so if you can
go ahead and flip through.
Great. Perfect.
Can we just pause here?
Yeah, sure. Either one is fine. So we've been talking a lot this morning about how the advanced directives that we all know are so important, can be a little sterile and can be more formulistic. And so having a video advanced directive can help us improve clarity about what we might want. In a 2017 study from Pittsburgh Medical Center, 741 physicians from 13 hospitals were presented with critically ill patients and advanced directives. Each doctor had access to them and to the patient, but then some doctors were randomly assigned video advanced directives that supplemented the written ones. What was so interesting is that in where we just had the written advanced directive, the results of treatment were all over the place. There was no consensus, but adding the video advanced directive significantly impacted interpretive consensus, or in other words, it changed the physician's understanding of the code status and when to intervene or not, and made treatment decisions more consistent overall and much more consistent with the patient's wishes. Now, why was that? One reason was physicians weren't concerned, didn't have liability concerns about would the family come back, or the caregivers didn't have liability concerns, would the family come back and complain? Because they knew what the patient wanted. So again, anything we can do to provide that additional clarity is great from a legal perspective. Adam, if you could. So we know that they're good, but how can we rely on the fact that a court of law, if it got to that point, would actually support it, that it would be upheld? So the answer to that question, as is the answer to many questions in the law, is it depends. And my law students hate that answer because they're like, give us some consistency. But under the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, the general power for health matters resides within each state. And this concept is what scholars call the laboratories of democracy that allow each state to make laws that are consistent with their demographic and geographic needs. Now, I could go on and on for hours and hours whether that really happens, but here I do think it's important when we're thinking about video advanced directives to think, what will my state allow me to do? Only one state, Maryland, allows video advanced directives to be used instead of written documents. New Jersey has legislation that will allow video advanced directives to be considered in addition to or to supplement the written advanced directives. Now I have a list of 12 other states which does include Maryland, and they have legislatively authorized healthcare advanced directive registries or places to put advanced care documentation so that it will be considered. We think in those states there may be openings for a court to uphold or say that a video advance directive needs to be considered, but it's a little bit unclear. But because these states do have the healthcare directive registries, advanced directive registries, excuse me, it does look like it might be a positive movement if video advanced directives continue to have the power that we think that they will have. In the rest of the states is still uncertain. That doesn't mean they shouldn't be made. It just means that people shouldn't rely on them as a sole measure of supporting their wishes. Adam, if you wouldn't mind. Okay, so I wanted to look a little bit more closely at the Maryland and New Jersey statute. So in Maryland, what's very interesting is that the state will accept it as valid, even if it's unwitnessed, so you don't have that third party there, as long as it's dated and it's stored by an electronic file in a service recognized by the Maryland Healthcare Commission. So again, storing it in the state registry is a very helpful task if we wanted to do this in Maryland. In New Jersey, what's very interesting is that they'll accept a video or audio recording to supplement a written advance directive that is signed, dated, and witnessed. And in New Jersey, that needs to include that the declarant is of sound mind and free of duress or undue influence. So given those two states as kind of models, Adam, if you wouldn't mind, next slide. I have some guidelines for everyone as they're thinking about doing this. So first, one of the biggest concerns is AI technologies and deep fakes. In this day and age, we can make a video about almost anything, right? Just from people who are, what they have done in the past. We need to make sure, like Karen did, that it is personal, that you say something to make sure that the person knows that, that is listening knows that it was you, that this is your wishes, and when you made it. Videos are susceptible to damage or deletion, so store them in a safe place like a registry. Sometimes they could conflict with the paper document. Make sure that you know what's in the written documents that are there so that it's not going to conflict. It could be too emotionally taxing. We've talked about that, and I think education is the way to handle that. Sometimes there's a lack of clarity to guide a clinical decision, and some cultural norms may render these videos less acceptable. Again, know who your audience is and be prepared. And then discomfort or nervousness during recording may be mistaken for confusion or duress. You want to speak clearly, speak loudly, and use a good quality camera. None of us like to hear ourselves speak. I hate when I have to listen to a lecture after I give it. But this may be one of the most important communications that you ever make. And like Keith said, it's a gift and a source of comfort for those you love. So don't expect perfection, because none of us are perfect. Our family members know that. But speak clearly, speak loudly, so that your message is understood. Law is often seen by many as to be an obstacle to acting. I hope, however, you can see that the laws here provide us some guideposts that can help you and your families and your clients navigate what are, as I said before, uncharted water for so many, in a ways that your wishes regarding treatment choices can be respected, and that the healthcare providers who are providing care have some clarity and consistency about what you want. So thank you, and I'm happy to answer questions during the group chat.
So I believe, Chris, you touched on all of these items in the slide deck.
I did. So in my notes, so that was the next slide up. So I just incorporated.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, I think you spoke to them. For those watching, the slides will be available in connection to the video afterwards. And so just to note that these points are captured within the slide deck.
Right. And if I just may, the one comment that I don't think that I was as clear about is it is really helpful to have a third party there to act as a witness when you are taping. Not only can this person help you understand were you sufficiently clear, but also if somebody questioned the authenticity, it is very helpful to have that neutral third party present.
It's a great point. Thank you. I think even with paper advance directives, often questioning the validity is what I hear in the hospital setting and front lines. And so I think you've touched on a lot of key points just now about ways within video advanced care planning, how to ensure that that validity and that people will honor and respect the wishes expressed within it. So thank you.
Adam.
Karen, I'm going to pivot back to you as kind of the star of our day and just see if you could talk to us a little bit about what it was like making the video and the process, and what else you would want to share with the group about that.
Okay. You could put the slide up of the potential benefits. Yeah. Well, I feel a little bit like a broken record, but I keep saying, and I think it's the key to all of this, is to be authentic. To just when you speak in the video, to just be saying, to be yourself, to be real. So so that they really know that those are your wishes. A gift, it can be, Chris was saying, more powerful even than the legal documents. It can carry more weight, although just to remember, it is a supplement. It is not a legally executed advance directive, but it is a supplement, but it's not a replacement. I think too, I love that story of the seagull that comes in and poops on your plan, Keith. That was, I'd never really heard that expression, but I think when that long lost cousin comes in at the end and says, I know what good old Karen really wants. You've got this video that indeed tells you what good old Karen really wanted. I think too, a video can help with decision making that the health agent has to do at the end, when you've got that there to back you up, that the health agent can say, I know that this is what Karen wanted because I have it all here. I'll just tell you that my son, I have one son, and we're going up there for Thanksgiving, and he's already asked me what end of life issue I'll be discussing at Thanksgiving dinner. So he knows that I talk about it all the time. I get people to get involved in it, and usually they're like, no, Mom, not more of that, but I want to talk about it. I want them to know everything about what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling about it. And then it's a lasting legacy. I don't know if you have ever had this feeling, or you've had somebody tell you this, that you'd love to have a person that you love, something video of them, something where you hear their voice, you feel their spirit. It can be that as well. The practical tips, Adam. There's so many resources. A big part of doing these videos, you can imagine, is having to think about what it is you're going to say and what are things that are important to you, like the part that's been mentioned about expressing your forgiveness and asking for forgiveness. Those are things that I read along the way and knew that I wanted to incorporate that. But these 4 books, I guess they will be in the chat room so that you can get their names if you want. Also, I guess the most important, well, I don't know what's most important, but make sure you tailor it to your own needs when you express what it is you want. You probably noticed in my video that I talked a lot about dementia, and that is, kind of a key issue for me, that I wanted to make it clear that I really, if I have dementia, I really do want to end my life as soon as possible. I think if you have certain feelings about medical procedures, you want to make sure that that's included. If you want to know the truth, the whole truth about your condition, make sure that that's included. These books will give you that information on lots of things to consider. Very important that you look like you're naturally speaking, that it's really you. You probably could tell in that video that I had a script there. I tried to keep it fairly not obvious, but my kids, my family, my friends know that I've done a lot of public speaking and that I always have notes. It's just me. It's like a security thing to always have notes in my hands when I'm talking. So it's okay, but keep it so that it can't be seen, so that you're really talking to your audience. Show some personality. I took a bit of a risk, but I decided to be a little corny humor and a little bit of kidding with my family and all. And that's what they were used to. That's what they are used to. They will get it. They'll know that it's really me. I'll tell you, when I did my video, the funniest part was I had been thinking about doing it for quite a while. And so one morning I woke up and I said, all right, you're going to do that video. So I didn't particularly get fixed up. My hair was kind of messy and I had on kind of a morning outfit. And so I did the video, and then I went back and listened to it, looked at it. And of course, I didn't look that great. And I said, you know what? I'm not doing this for posterity. I'm not going to let the world and all my family and everything think this is what I looked like. So I scratched that one, went back, washed my hair, put on a nice outfit, and did the video again. And I felt so much better about it. So what you look like, what you sound like, that really matters. There's also things in your background. I always think it's funny before a Zoom call that you have to kind of clean the room a little bit and make sure you have books on the thing that makes you look like an intellectual or whatever. It's very important that you have a glare on your iPhone or whatever, that you fix that so that it doesn't glare. And let's see. Said the setting and the looks. It's a very easy thing to do. Maybe, I mean, I'm not a big smartphone pro, but I do know enough to how to record something on my phone. It is quite easy. I had this little stand that I use that's really sturdy steel. I put my phone on there, and that it was just, I made it as easy as I could to do it. And practice run, I told you about my practice run with my morning messiness. So, but do a practice run. And you probably will want to, depending upon when you create your video, you probably will want to make some changes along the years. I'm not sure, but so your health changes, your thinking changes on something. So I just would say, try to make sure that you do change it as time goes along. And each time you change it, what Chris said, make sure that it's dated and your name and the date that you're doing it, so that it becomes slightly more formal. I guess to sort of end it, what I'd say is the hardest part about it all is the getting started, the getting out of bed and saying, I'm going to do that video, and deciding what you're going to say. And there are many materials available to help you on that. Again, be yourself, be authentic, so that your health agent and your family and your friends will know it is really you, and then they will do what you have asked for in your final days. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Karen, for those best practices and those tips from your lived experience with this. With that, we're gonna start to move to question and answer. So I'm gonna stop my screen share and come back to the group. And as we were going kind of earlier in the session, I did grab a couple of questions, and I'm going to start catching up on the chat that's been busy here in the minute while we answer. Karen, you talked a little in that last part about the script. And there was a question earlier of, have you had people ask you for your script to kind of help use as a guide? You've been generous in sharing your video, which I think gives a good example, but do you have people asking you if they can Mad Lib your script to fill in the blanks for themselves?
Well, there is some question about can we use the materials, just the types of things that I said. Because at Carolina Meadows, we do these workshops, we provide that kind of thing, you know, to our residents to give them some ideas. But you do better really to read the books that we've suggested. They have so much information in there. And you know, the 5 Wishes document, that has, I took some from there, that has a lot of information on how you'd want to say something. So I wouldn't say that I'm overrun with people wanting to do it, but I have had wonderful feedback from people about it.
Great, thank you. Keith, there was a question earlier, and it may have been asked as a hypothetical question, but as someone who's done a lot of work to try to help educate clinicians around advanced care planning, that there was a question around how many clinicians actually offer this as an ongoing conversation and revisit it. And I'm curious, you know, what your sense of that is, but also any guidance you may have on how we can help kind of move the healthcare world forward in treating this as an ongoing conversation and not a one and done process.
So the short answer is it doesn't occur in that clinical context near as often as I think any of us would like. I think there is a discomfort both on the side of the providers and on the patients. And, you know, it's a very common thing that when I talk to patients, they'll say, well, I'm waiting for my doctor to bring it up. And when I talk to physicians, well, I'm waiting for the patient to bring it up. And this actually comes out of a good place where they don't want to hurt the other person. I think one thing that would be helpful is for patients to see this as a form of self-advocacy, as another means of their authority. And it actually might just break that shell when you bring this up with your healthcare team to say, this is important to me. I'd like to discuss, I'd like you to know these things about me. This is important. We're going to talk about this more tomorrow, I think, actually. Yeah,
and then Keith, I noticed in the chat you made note to me of an additional statement and question you had.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief, which is not a thing that Baptist ministers are very good at, but you know, I've certainly spoke about Seagull syndrome, and that is unfortunately very true. I also think that we all need to realize, and that's on the medical and the patient and family side, that there's an elasticity involved, and that frequently the medical team looks at data, looks at a patient, and they have already decided what the natural endpoint is. Sometimes it takes a while for families and patients to get to that place. So the elasticity is not the same. Medical people will very quickly snap to this, you know, here's the conclusion. You know, Keith will die, and he'll die within a short period of time. Families sometimes need a little bit of time for acceptance. So they may use this resistance to following Karen's wishes as simply a means of being able to sift themselves and get themselves in an emotional space. They use miracle language in the same way frequently. So not all miracle language is exactly as it comes out. It may be an attempt to say, Dr. Adam, time out. I've had all I can do right now. Please give me some space. So to be kind. And then I actually had a question for Chris, if there's time, and that is about editing videos. I know we had some questions about AI. You know, I like you, I don't like seeing myself recorded. Won't watch this. The camera adds 10 pounds, and it looks like there's about 4 cameras on me right now. Chris, what are your thoughts about editing and how that may work against what we're trying to do here?
Well, I don't know that it'll work against what we're trying to do here. I think the critical issue is to make sure that you can authenticate it through either having a neutral third party present when you are doing the taping, if that's available to you, and making sure that your written documents either reflect the fact that there is a video advanced directive, and that they are consistent, that your wishes are consistent. I think that we're all pretty clear that editing is going to happen. In fact, I think, Karen, in yours, I could tell at one point it stopped and started, right? That didn't affect the power or the validity of it whatsoever. I think that's going to happen a little bit. But to your point, I think we do need to be careful about AI and deepfakes. And, if a court was actually, if it got to that point, would they say that this is the patient's wishes? And so you have to be careful not to do a lot of editing for those reasons.
Yeah,
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I thumbs up from Keith. He approves, and I appreciate that answer. I know when we talked about this, in prepping for the session, just worked to fit the video within our timeline a little bit, and I thought about the fact in making splices and cuts in the video that someone could interpret that, because I've seen it in the paper advanced directive world, and others of you may have experienced this too. If I'm reviewing an advanced directive and halfway through the document the pen changes and the writing looks different, that in itself gives people a moment of pause to say, is this a valid and authentic document? And so that same thing could show up in video form. There's a question, and I'll open this to the group. Maybe Karen, I'll start with you with your current. I know you've produced this video and obviously shared it, and you've shared it with all of us. There were questions about the storage of this and how you distribute it. So I know in the paper advanced directive world these days, we scan it into the electronic medical record within the healthcare system, and then we provide the patient with a paper copy or multiple paper copies and encourage them to distribute them to anyone who may have a voice in their healthcare or who may think they have a voice in their healthcare, so they are informed, and encourage them to keep notes of who all they gave a copy of the advanced directive to, should they update it or edit it. I'm curious with this video piece, Karen, kind of what you've done with it or distributed or envision doing with it in terms of storage, but also making sure all the different people in your life have access to it who may need to.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a tech person, so I'm not going to be the best to give the answer, but I do know the flash drive. We put it on a flash drive, and then you can keep that. I'm going to have it sent to, we have at UNC hospital here, we have something called My Chart, which is, medical information about the patient, and I'm going to have it included in that. I'm giving my doctor a copy, and of course, the main person is my health agent to make sure that he has it as well. I don't know about that issue of cutting out part of it. That's very interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but it seems to me, Chris, I think I agree with you. It's more authentic the more mistakes you make, almost. The more you act more like yourself. Others know more about that, about the actual storage.
Chris, you're on mute.
Here's another mistake. From a legal perspective, I think that our registries are not as up to date as we would like them to be with respect to video advanced directives. So, that's one thing from the state perspective, if we're going to allow these to have a place where they could be safely stored and accessed. But I think your My Chart comment was terrific. And what a great idea. And then just making sure that your loved ones know where it is, how to retrieve it, and this is actually a video of your wishes. And
maybe I'll make that my Thanksgiving topic for my son.
Yeah, Karen, I appreciate you, and I saw comments in the chat raising up the making this a normal part of family gatherings, such as around the holidays. I know normalizing conversations about end of life is what many of us on the screen right now and many of the people in the chat do on a daily basis. And so I think that certainly resonates with each of us. I'm curious, just for each of the three of you, kind of pop around, kind of just last kind of thoughts or closing remarks, anything else that you may add as we approach the end of our time. And so, Keith, I'll go to you first.
This has inspired me to consider strongly doing this for myself, Karen, and that ultimate healing and displaying who you are and the humor and all that together, that is inspiring me to do this as a gift to my family as well. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you for being willing to give of yourself this morning, and you know, not just in demonstration, but to share a precious part of who you are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you don't have to put on makeup or anything, you know, it's minimal hair washing and all.
Chris, how about you?
I just wanted to thank everybody on this panel and who participated in this, and Karen in particular, like you, for sharing your wishes and your vulnerability with all of us. I mean, I think that you not only gave your family a gift, but each of us who were able to watch it. And I just wanted to thank all the participants because, again, I started this out by sharing that personally I had been a caregiver. And those of you involved in this area are giving everybody an amazing gift of yourself and your profession. So thank you.
And last but not least, Karen, what last thoughts do you have for the group?
Well, it's been a good personal experience for me to be involved with my fellow panelists. I basically have not been back in the business world for, I'd say 20, 25 years. So it was kind of fun for me to think about what a PowerPoint was and all that kind of thing. But I can only tell you that this has changed my whole view of dying. And it really is not, I'm not fearful. I really see it as a natural part. And right now, I think George, my husband, and I are really, we almost feel messianic about it. Like we really want to get this message out, particularly to the group here that doesn't think they're going to die.
Well, Karen, I appreciate that. And again, just tremendous thank you to you. You talk about getting the word out. I will note that in the chat, Matt said, if you realize the impact you're making, it might scare you, that your video will change so many lives. I have no doubt that a number of the people participating now will take this and will carry it forward. And so I think your desire to spread the word is happening as we speak. And so I'm appreciative of that. I'll say for myself as moderator, I'm appreciative to all three of you for participating on the panel today and sharing your wisdom with all of us. One of my key takeaways around this, with all that we talked about and learned, is that I think it's an area where it's important for us to not let perfect be the enemy of good. We, as has been alluded to, we all have the capability to do this. And while planning, Karen talked to us about the value of planning and prep. Something could be done even today, probably before you lay your head on your pillow at the end of the night tonight. We at least have the ability to do something that, whether it's accepted legally within the state, could certainly be a value add to our families, our loved ones, the people around us and supporting us. And so I think it's something that we can continue to explore how we work it into practice and utilize it within our care settings. And so thank you all. And as Karen has asked, please carry the message forward. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Heather to close us out.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Karen. I don't know if your plan was to become a social media influencer and video star, but you have definitely done that today with the participants and for others as we share it. So many thank you. Many thank yous to Karen and to Keith and to Christine and Adam for moderating such a wonderful session. And in our audience, I know we have behind the scenes Deb Love and Linda Darden and the rest of the Advanced Care Planning Work Group that put such thoughtfulness into putting this great session together. There is more to the Joining Our Voices Symposium. Please join us tomorrow. Keith did a great promo. We're going to be talking about From Books to Bedside, the art of serious illness conversations. where we talk about how our clinical students in medicine and nursing and social work and pastoral care, how they are being educated to have these conversations with patients and families. And then that is tomorrow from 8:30 to 9:30, same Zoom link. And then Friday from 11 to 12, we are closing out this week, really looking at the future, empowering tomorrow, navigating the future with advanced care planning. We have a national expert, Marisette Hassan, who's also a member of our coalition, will be talking about this work as well. And so many, many thanks to all of you for joining us and to the panelists. Thank you. Thank you.